Right now at noon, we have an update on the train fatalities that occurred yesterday.
And it's a warm and breezy day across the 4 states with another round of above average temperatures. We'll have a look at your forecast coming up.
Plus, millions of Americans saw their clocks fall back overnight. The extra hour of sleep can leave some of us feeling well rested, while others might feel disrupted by the change.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us on KOAM News at Noon. I'm Caitlin O'Shaughnessy. In today's top story, 2 people are dead after being hit by a train on a trestle bridge in Jasper County. It happened around 2:15 p.m. yesterday afternoon on the bridge over Center Creek. Authorities say the train saw the 2 men, 24-year-old Dakota Bittner and 39-year-old Terry Long, and blew its horn to warn them before hitting them. Authorities said in a statement, alcohol may have been a factor. Bittner and Long were both from the local area. And if you forgot to set your clocks back an hour yesterday, this is your reminder. But the question on many people's minds is why we still do this twice a year. And many in Washington feel the same way. Christina Coleman has more.
Millions of Americans saw their clocks fall back overnight. The extra hour of sleep can leave some of us feeling well rested, while others might feel disrupted or fatigued by the change.
You gotta keep changing your clock on your car. I hate doing that.
Scientists say it affects us both physically and mentally.
Learning, memory, executive functioning, multitasking, for example, which you can normally maybe do, that could be impacted during this transition.
Right now, we're in what's called standard time. The drawback is that the sun sets much earlier, leaving many to do their evening routines in darkness.
It may be a little darker earlier, but you're getting more light in the morning and throughout the day. And in fact, under standard time, you get many more days of daylight.
Springing forward is definitely the less popular of the 2 time shifts.
I really like it when it drops back an hour and we get an extra hour of sleep, but when I have to wake up an hour early, I'm not too excited about that.
And some lawmakers agree. In the past 6 years, 19 states have made efforts to move to year-round daylight saving time. The Sunshine Protection Act passed the Senate last year, but stalled in the House.
This is not the most important issue before the Republic, but I do think people wonder, why do we keep doing this flipping back and forth on the time?
Many say that ending the time changes is a good thing. The disagreement is over which one we should switch to permanently, standard or daylight saving. Many doctors say standard is better for our health, with the extra light in the morning setting us up for better sleep cycles.
And yeah, warm and breezy, the trend yet again across the area. Earlier this morning, our camera downtown Joplin on top of the Cornell complex, we had some clouds out there. The clouds will gradually increase across the area as we head through the afternoon hours, but otherwise not a bad start to the day. MoDOT camera 20th and range line this morning also showing those blue skies, plentiful sunshine out there, and just another indication that we are on a course for an above average day. So average low is 41, average high is 63. 63 is where we were early this morning. So that gives you an idea as to how warm we are. 10 degrees above normal yesterday, starting the day at 51, made it up to 74, so 11 degrees above where we're supposed to be for this time of year across the area. And these above average temperatures are going to continue for the next couple of days across the area. So you can see where we've been just kind of hovering out there. Average high right around 62, 63, but not near that anytime soon. We have some big changes in our forecast. In fact, we're actually going to start to go to average over the next few days. We're going to talk about that in more detail here in just a few more minutes. Plus, we want to remind you, make sure you take time, if you haven't already done so, download the KOAM Skywatch Weather app. You can find it in your favorite app store, and it's like having the entire Skywatch Weather team right there in the palm of your hand. The latest forecast, radar information, even gives you lightning alerts and severe weather alerts. So make sure you take time to download that. Again, average temperatures on the way. We'll talk about when they're going to get here in just a few more minutes.
Well, the winter months are quickly approaching, and some Oklahoma homeless shelters are preparing. Reporter Michaela Glenn reports.
The Tulsa Day Center, John 3:16 Mission, and the Salvation Army all work together to make sure no one is left out in the cold. They try to make sure their clients can survive the cold and beyond. The Tulsa Day Center says it can house up to 400 clients during the day and provide beds for 100 clients at night, which is crucial when the temperature drops. It works with other shelters downtown to get people off the streets and into a safe place. John 316 is currently at capacity, but are rearranging beds to fit more people. The director of guest services says they love the population they serve and they want to help as many people as possible. The Salvation Army says it can accept an overflow of 40 people when temperatures reach below 33 degrees. Noe Rodriguez with the Day Center says this cold snap has brought in more clients than usual.
During inclement weather, we'll let all clients come in and get out of the cold. We want them to feel safe, and Oklahoma weather, it can get bitter, deathly cold, and so we're allowing clients to come in and get reprieve from the weather inside.
That's a look at today's top stories and weather in the 4 states region. Up next on KOAM News at Noon. Former President Donald Trump arrived at court Monday morning ahead of his expected testimony in a civil fraud trial. We'll have the latest. And later, we're making good old chicken noodle soup in the Mr. Food Test kitchen. Stay tuned. Former President and 2024 GOP frontrunner Donald Trump is testifying under oath today at his high-profile civil trial in New York. He's accused of using questionable accounting practices to inflate the value of his properties. Naomi Richam has the latest from the courthouses in New York.
Former President Donald Trump arrived at court Monday morning ahead of his expected testimony in a civil fraud trial.
It's a very sad situation for our country. We shouldn't have this. This is for third world countries, and very unfair.
Trump is accused of fraudulently inflating the value of his properties, including Trump Tower and Mar-a-Lago, to obtain loans and other benefits. But the current frontrunner for the GOP presidential nomination has denied any wrongdoing.
This is really election interference. That's all it is. This trial is ridiculous.
Trump's sons, Don Jr. and Eric, took the stand last week here in Lower Manhattan to defend the Trump Organization's business practices.
We have an unbelievable company with some of the best assets anywhere in the world.
Don Jr. said any errors in company financial statements should be taken up with the Trump Organization's accountants.
I'm apparently guilty of fraud for relying on my accountant to do, wait for it, accounting.
New York's Attorney General is seeking $250 million in fines and restrictions that would prevent the Trump Organization from doing business in their home state.
But at the end of the day, the only thing that matters are the facts and the numbers. And numbers, my friends, don't lie.
Trump's daughter Ivanka, who is not a defendant in this case, is expected to take the stand Wednesday. Naomi Ruckham, CBS News, New York.
Courtroom for several days of this trial, and the judge has fined him twice for violating a limited gag order. And Israel's military says it will soon start closing in on Hamas fighters in Gaza City, while the Hamas-controlled Gaza Health Ministry says that the Palestinian death toll from the war has climbed past 10,000. The war began almost a month ago when Hamas fighters launched terror attacks on Israel communities, killing 1,400 people and taking more than 200 other hostages. Natalie Brand reports from the White House, where the Biden administration continues diplomatic efforts to push for both a humanitarian pause in the fighting and the release of hostages.
Israel's military released this footage Monday showing what it says are convoys of its supplies entering Gaza, with Israeli troops now surrounding Gaza City. Israel is preparing for what is expected to be a deadly street-by-street battle against Hamas fighters, both above ground and in underground tunnels.
We cannot stop before we dismantle this terror machine, or else, as I said, we'll strike again and again.
All the while, Israel's bombing of what it says are Hamas targets in the besieged territory continues, with civilians paying a high price. This survivor says, "We are all in bandages. They pulled us out from under the rubble."
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken is wrapping up his latest diplomatic trip to the region, where he tried to build support for humanitarian interventions in an effort to prevent the conflict from expanding.
We're working, as I said, very aggressively on getting more humanitarian assistance into Gaza and we have very concrete ways of doing that. And I think you'll see in the days ahead that assistance can expand in significant ways.
During his visit, Blinken met with Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas in the West Bank, who joined international calls for an immediate ceasefire.
Now is the time to stop the barrels of the gun, to stop the murder of civilians.
Something Israel says it won't do until the hostages are released. And in an effort to deter anyone from trying to widen the war, the U.S. Defense Department released video of the Eisenhower Carrier Strike Group arriving in the Middle East. Natalie Brand, CBS News, the White House.
It joins the USS Gerald R. Ford Carrier Strike Group, which is already in the Eastern Mediterranean. And still to come on KOAM News at Noon, we see what's cooking with Mr. Food.
You know, it's cold and flu season, and we have just the thing to help ward off those nasty sniffles. It's a remedy that I got from my mom and she got from hers.
And we've got some average temperatures on the way in that forecast. We'll take a look at that when we come back. Welcome back to the KOAM News at Noon. So we've had another warm and breezy day, and that has really been the thing the last several days. But hey, I tell you what, it beats the really cold weather we had at the start of last week, where we were well below average. Then we turn around, and now we're well above average. This is a look from our camera on the Cornell complex in downtown Joplin. Earlier this morning, just a few clouds out there. Those clouds will continue to increase, and of course, a bit on the breezy side, and those winds continuing to increase across the area as well. Looking at the Skywatch Storm Tracker earlier, we had those passing clouds this morning, and then we've got the increasing clouds that'll be building in from the west. So that's going to give us the opportunity, again, for some partly to mostly cloudy skies as we head through the afternoon hours. However, despite that cloud cover, not really going to be enough to stop the warming. But as we mentioned, we're also going to start to return to average. Let's take a look. Here's a nice wider view of all that cloud cover off to the west. Now, that rain that you saw on the Skywatch Storm Tracker earlier, not actually happening. We've just got clouds out there. Our next system won't get here for a few more days, but when it does, it is going to shake things up for us. So we go through the evening. Believe it or not, winds will calm down a bit. Then we start heading into our Tuesday, and we'll start to see gusty winds once again across the area. Now, initially, the wind's not too bad, but as we head later into the day on Tuesday, especially into the evening hours, once again, those winds pick up and start gusting 20, 25, maybe even upwards of 30 miles an hour across the area. And that will continue even as we go into our Wednesday morning, and it won't be until late Wednesday that the winds will start to calm down. But you can see these wind arrows kind of hidden here in the shadows. Now they're starting to shift direction. Well, that's because as we go into Thursday, that's when we're really going to start to see some changes in our forecast. It's going to feel cold, but it's not actually truly going to be cold. All right, for the rest of the day, though, highs mid-upper 70s, of course, west of 75, could reach right around 80 degrees, maybe even 81 degrees out there. So still 10 to 15 degrees above average. South breeze 10 to 20, gusting to 25 with those partly to mostly cloudy skies. We head into this evening. Again, partly cloudy skies, the winds a little more manageable, south at 5 to 10. But remember, our average high this time of year, right around 62, 63, and that's just a couple of degrees off what our low is going to be. So another mild evening out there with those above average temperatures. Our Tuesday shaping up to be the exact same way, another above average day as we go even closer to 80 degrees. Still upper 70s for highs, partly cloudy, breezy, winds kick up again, gusting upwards of 25 miles an hour out there. And between tomorrow and Wednesday, some of our friends in southeast Kansas, again west of 75, could even reach the lower 80s. However, that's going to change. By Wednesday, again, another warm day out there pushing even closer to 80, hence why some of us could see the lower 80s. Then we get those morning rain chances on Thursday, and that system kicks our temperatures back down. Now, it's not the same kick we got last week, but compared to 80 degrees, that's going to feel a lot colder, but it's right where we should be as we head into the weekend with temperatures back into the low to mid 60s. But that also means our overnight lows are going to feel colder as well as they fall back to normal into the 40s. We head into next week, we go a little above average by just a few degrees, back into the upper 60s out there. We otherwise stay pleasant across the region heading into the next work week.
Well, stick around. We're making good old chicken noodle soup in the Mr. Food Test kitchen. We'll be right back. It's time to check in with Howard in the Mr. Food Test kitchen. Today he's making a dish that will warm you from the inside out. It's called Good Old Chicken Noodle Soup. Take a look.
You know, this is the time of year when all we seem to hear is that this person has a cold or that person is under the weather. That means we need to take every precaution so we don't get it too. One thing that my grandmother swore helped keep her family healthy was her homemade chicken noodle soup. She claimed it not only made you feel better when you're under the weather, but it prevents you from getting sick in the first place. So here's what I keep on hand all winter long. It's a big pot of soup that starts off with a whole chicken and lots of carrots, celery, and onions. All that simmers in water for a little over an hour with a good amount of salt, pepper, and chicken base, or chicken bouillon. When the chicken falls apart, we take it out and separate the meat from the bones, and back into the soup it goes. And as for the chicken base, that gives our broth a little more oomph. And yes, you can find it at your market. We like serving this up with some home-style noodles that you can pick up in your freezer aisle. This makes it super hearty. Dish this up, and boy, are you gonna feel good. To get the recipe for what we call our good old chicken noodle soup, all you have to do is visit our website. I'm Howard of the Mr. Food Test Kitchen, where today we found a warm and comforting way for you to say, ooh, it's so good.
To find this recipe, along with many others, just head over to our website at KOAMnewsnow.com and click on Mr. Food. Now here's a look at your 4 state market prices.
All right, again, windy today, temperatures above average, upper 70s tomorrow and Wednesday, and breezy Tuesday and Wednesday as well. And we could even see some lower 80s. Rain chances, though, Thursday morning. Our temperatures begin to fall back to average. So we go back in the low to mid 60s with sunny skies heading into the upcoming weekend.
That looks pretty nice.
Yes, it does.
All right, well, what do you have for us tonight?
Well, at 5, what happened when Donald Trump took the stand in his financial fraud trial? We're going to have all the latest details. Plus, Rafa International is expanding its trauma treatment with the help of a grant. And Jasper County Sheriff's Department arrests 3 people accused of stealing more than $90,000 worth of equipment. Hope you'll join us for those stories. A lot more, of course. It's all coming up today on KOAM News at 5.
And that's the news for now. Thank you for joining us on KOAM News at Noon. Have a great rest of your day.